The room burst into a chorus of laughter, a symphony of unrestrained mirth that filled every corner. Everyone was caught in the wave, chuckling and gasping except for him. He stood apart, his gaze fixed on me, devoid of amusement or retort. His silence was a heavy, tangible thing. And in that quiet, I sensed a fracture begin to form. At the time, I dismissed it as a fleeting discomfort, a quip that had missed its mark. But that moment, those words I tossed out to spark laughter, marked the start of an unraveling. If I could, I'd claw them back, trade anything to undo the damage. Have you ever let careless words slip and watched them cost you someone dear? I'm 31, and this is the story of how I shattered something precious. Not through deceit or betrayal, but with a single thoughtless jest. Elliot was not the sort to chase the spotlight. He didn't rely on bold gestures or striking attire to make an impression. His presence was subtle yet undeniable, like a steady hearth in a winter storm, offering comfort without fanfare. We had shared nearly 2 years together. And in that time I came to know his quiet strengths, his thoughtfulness, his reliability, the way he was fully present in a way I hadn't realized was rare until it was gone. The incident unfolded at a colleague's birthday gathering. A lively affair packed with unfamiliar faces. Friends of friends plus ones and vague acquaintances. Drinks flowed freely and the air buzzed with competitive wit. Each person vying to land the sharpest line. I've always been quick with words. It's how I navigate crowds. How I win people over. Elliot, though, was different. In groups, he preferred to listen. His contributions measured but sincere. That evening, he made an effort to join the banter to match the room's frenetic energy. Then came the question tossed out by someone in the crowd. What would your guy do if a mugger came at you? Without pausing to think, I let out a laugh and fired back. Elliot. He'd probably try to hug the guy and say sorry for not carrying more cash. The room exploded with laughter, the kind that's loud and performative, feeding on itself. Someone chimed in. Yeah, he's got that gentle vibe. The teasing grew light-hearted but relentless, and I didn't stop it. I leaned in, grinning. Honestly, if we're ever in trouble, I'm shoving Elliot at them and sprinting away. The laughter swelled, a roaring tide, and I felt like the queen of the moment. But when my eyes found Elliot, the triumph soured. His face was a mask, no trace of a smile, not even a polite one. Then without a word, he rose, retrieved his jacket, and walked out. The room stilled, the laughter choking off. Someone murmured, "Hey." Another said, "Didn't mean to touch a sore spot." I stood there, drink in hand, the warmth of the moment replaced by a cold knot of confusion. I caught up to him outside, my voice light, coaxing. "Elliot, come on. It was just a joke." He didn't raise his voice or point fingers. He simply looked at me, his eyes steady, and asked, "Why did you turn me into the fool?" I fumbled for words, insisting it wasn't a big deal. "It doesn't have to be," he said quietly. "But it still stings." I thought he was blowing it out of proportion, that he'd calm down, that we'd laugh it off later. But that night he didn't come back to my place. My calls went unanswered, my texts unread. The next morning I sent a message. "I'm sorry if I made you feel bad. I didn't mean to." His reply was measured, cutting in its clarity. "You didn't just make me feel bad. You made me feel insignificant in front of strangers. And you relished it." That's when the weight of it hit me. It wasn't just the joke itself. It was the way I'd wielded it. How I traded his dignity for a fleeting spotlight. How I cast him as the fool to make myself shine. The days that followed were eerily quiet. He didn't cut me off or disappear, but the warmth that had once defined us was absent. When I finally persuaded him to meet a week later, he was calm, almost detached. "I'm not angry," he said. "I'm just tired of asking you to see me." His words landed like a stone, cold and unyielding. I pleaded, called it a single misstep. He shook his head. "It's not one night, it's a habit. You've done this before. Made me the butt of your wit. You just never saw it or never cared enough to stop. He left that day. No theatrics, no raised voices, just a quiet finality. Months drifted by and I clung to the hope that he'd return. That our bond was too deep to dissolve. But time has a way of stripping away illusions. I began to see glimpses of his life, photos from trips. His face bright with a new ease. He looked unburdened, free of the weight I'd placed on him. Then came the picture that broke me. Elliot was someone new. She had a gentle, authentic warmth. And in his eyes was the look he'd once reserved for me. He'd given it to her now, to someone who wouldn't treat his heart as a prop, who wouldn't sacrifice his worth for a cheap laugh. Now, when I hear laughter that cuts too deep, that thrives at someone else's expense, I fall silent. I know the price of that sound. If you've ever turned someone you love into a punchline, pause and ask, was the laughter worth it? Some people don't shout or fight back. They simply leave. And when they do, they don't return. If you've ever let someone good slip away because you didn't cherish them as you should, share your